Here. I'm happy to be here because Jack Roser's here. I don't know if you've seen the editorial in the Chicago Tribune that's going to run tomorrow. It's been online since Friday night. It's our lawsuit versus Republican comptroller Dream Bartopinga. The Tribune weighs in. They weigh in on our behalf. Jack helped fund that lawsuit. Let's give Jack a big round.
Adam started.
We'll talk a little bit more about that as today goes on. I see the Assistant Executive Director of For the Good of Illinois, Johnny Lappy. Johnny and I had a 20-hour day touring Illinois yesterday. We're back at it today. Let's give Johnny a big round of applause. From Milton Township, I see activist Mark Klamichik. Mark was instrumental in helping me investigate Republican Milton Township. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I see John Zom. Yesterday, John Zom kicked off two people that off the ballot in a southern Illinois water district that were abusing taxpayers. Thank you, John Zom. And I see Raphael Riverdin area. Thank you, Raphael. Like me, you lost your race, but we have not gone away. You have stayed involved. And I just want to say, I hope there's more people here in the room that put their necks on the chopping block, their reputations, their effort, their energy, their resources, and run for office. We need 1,000 Raphaels. Let's give Raphael a big round of applause. You're the best people in Illinois. I think that's evident. America is a miracle. And you and I are dedicated to preserving that miracle. And there's no smart work left. There's only hard work. America's a miracle, and I fundamentally understand this because when I grew up at or near the federal property markers in the small town of Herscher, Illinois, downstate, the local banker told my mother that the 7 kids, and I was the oldest of the 7 kids, none of us would ever go to college because the family would never have the money. And now, 25 years later, 11 of us have college degrees, and my brother graduated from Harvard Law School. America is a miracle. I understand America's a miracle because my brother and I then turned around and we started a company in 1997. And after 10 years, I sold my shares. We were a $20 million business. My brother still runs that company in the Yellow Pages publishing industry. And 6 years later, it's a $55 million business. I understand America's a miracle because I turned around and I ran for the top spot. I ran for governor of Illinois. And I knew less than 5 elected officials, and only one of which had ever called me. And we gave ourselves 11 months to run to victory, and we came close. In a wide field of 6 candidates, we won the second most number of counties, and came within 5% of the vote of winning. And I had the privilege of taking on the endorsement of one of the greatest champions of freedom and liberty of the 20th century, Lex Walesa, the union carpenter who stood up against communism, and with the Pope and with Thatcher and with Reagan, they reversed it on a peaceful basis. And I understand America is a miracle, and there is no smart work left after the November election. There is only hard work. And for all of us who have run for office, like Lee, we make promises. And to preserve the American miracle, we need to keep our promises. And I have tried hard to do just that since February 2nd of 2010. You remember my promise. It was to put every dime online in real time. And although I lost that race, I'm proud to say that in the fall of 2011, on the website at openthebooks.com, we posted the pay and pensions of virtually every single public employee at every level of Illinois government. It was 1 million bureaucrats that went online. And the website's been super hot. We've provided the tools to educate and engage and empower the people of Illinois to hold people accountable. 200,000 people have come to our website, and they have rendered 3 million questions. You and I, we are proving that Illinois is ready for reform. Now, when we opened the books, what did we find? Well, first off, we found 57 city and village managers out-earning every governor of the 50 states, and the top one earns $259,000, and he's from the tiny town of Grays Lake, Illinois, population 18,000. We found school district treasurers out-earning the state treasurer of Illinois. And in our Big Dogs report, we highlighted one of them in Lyons Township. And 2 years ago, he made $163,000, and last year he made $295,000. And then when we highlighted him, his school board president resigned. They hired an independent law firm to look into him. I'm proud to say that on August 31st of last year, he resigned, and I'm hearing and hoping that he will be indicted. When we opened the books, what did we find? We found what's a matter with Illinois, and it's bloated public payrolls in our colleges and in our universities. 10 years ago, there was 52,000 employees employed in our college and university system, and now there's 91,000 employees, but college enrollment is only up 7%. And we found out of 91,000 employees in that university system, the seventh highest earner is the president of a community college not more than 20 miles away from here. President of Moraine Valley Community College last year made $675,000. And it's also in our counties like Rock Ridge Republican DuPage County. You see, the IMRF system, the local pension system, has 202,000 employees at the local level. All of the townships and water districts and counties and library districts and municipalities. And last year, the number one earner in that system was a county engineer in DuPage County who made $340,000. When we opened the books, what did we find? We found spending malfeasance at every level. We started adding tranches of checkbook data to our website this spring. So the first thing we did is we asked Rahm Emanuel for 10 years of the City of Chicago checkbook. And he responded within 10 days, 7 million individual transactions. It was a beautiful Excel database that showed up on CD for $74 billion worth of vendor spending. The City of Chicago understands the Freedom of Information Act, and they gave us 10 years of their checkbook within 10 days. We uploaded all the colleges and universities all the way back to 2004, and it was 6.8 million checks, individual line item electronic transactions for $69 billion worth of spending. And then we turned around and uploaded all the 944 school districts that were in the system, all of their vendor spending, all the way back to 2006. And it was $52 billion worth of vendor spending. And to test the data, I looked at my high school district in Hinsdale. And very rapidly I found that since 2006 to 2011, my school district spent $2.3 million on taxi cab providers. A small handful of providers. And so very quickly, because we have the data, we studied the entire state. And what we found was 48 northern Illinois school districts that spent the majority of $50 million on taxi cabs. And only 8 of them, when we filed Freedom of Information Act requests on those 48 districts, only 8 of them followed the mandatory contract and bidding process, and 40 of them paid for expensive individual rides. And then what we found was 80% of those dollars were reimbursed by you and I, reimbursed by state taxpayers. When we opened the books, what did we find? We found that the state's top law enforcement officer, Attorney General Lisa Madigan, while she was telling the Better Government Association in Chicago that she had doled out no pay hikes, actually gave 57 pay hikes to her political appointees, to her patronage hires for $500,000. That dwarfed what Governor Quinn did in 2010 when the AP studied him. That dwarfed when the BGA studied Rutherford and Topeka, and those were big stories. And nobody, not one single newspaper, has covered that story on Lisa Madigan. By the way, at openthebooks.com, you can also see that Lisa Madigan has 727 employees, but we know she can't find corruption anywhere. Corruption in Illinois is hiding in plain sight. At the Illinois State Board of Elections website, we've identified 12 instances, and you're going to see a report from us soon, of cities and villages giving campaign cash to candidates and political action committees. As a matter of fact, the city of Waukegan gave the AFL-CIO PAC $2,400 a number of years ago. Fully disclosed, right in the light of day, right there for any of us to take a look at. So we've got a lot of work to do in Illinois. It's our goal at For the Good of Illinois and OpenTheBooks.com, on 7,000 units of government, it's the most units of government of any state out of the 50 states, to post every single dime taxed and spent at those units of government and put it up there so we can give it scrutiny, so we can rein in the abuses. In order to follow through on this mission, I needed to collect the state's checkbook. Now, we thought there might be a problem, but then again, we had a Republican sitting in a comptroller's position, Judy Barthinka. But nevertheless, we didn't ask her for 10 years, nor did we ask her for 6 years like we got from the schools, or the vendor spending back to 2004 like we got from the colleges and universities. No, we were good about it. We asked her for the last year, for 1 year of spending. And she rejected the request. And we filed about 1,000 of these, and she's the only public official to reject this request. And she was very specific in the rejection. She said that multiple staff members would have to review, redact, and arrange millions of lines of data. It would take her staff 3 days to do so, and that was an undue burden. Now, I know of no more important financial information in the state. We've got $9 billion of unpaid bills. We've got up to a $200 billion pension crisis in this state. And the devil is always in the details. We need to see the gory details. We need to see just how bad it is in Illinois. And Comptroller Topeka needs to open the books. Quiet quarrel with her for 9 months. We followed the process. We filed with the Attorney General Public Access Counselor, and Lisa Magan opened up a file. She thought we had a good case. Further inquiry is warranted. But as of August, all the phone calls went silent. All the emails went silent. So in January, we had no choice to enforce the law, to compel the Comptroller and the Attorney General to enforce the law, but to file a lawsuit. And I am proud to say that the Alton Telegraph, there's been 2 editorial boards weigh in on this. The Alton Telegraph, their title was Topeka, Open Up, and the Chicago Tribune weighs in the Sunday edition tomorrow. It's online today. We've got a copy of that in the back for you today as well. This is our issue. We cannot cut spending. We cannot rein in the last 100 years of corrupt practices until we can see the spending. Now, I want to lay out, because we have a lot of work to do here, to win elections. And if you don't win elections, there is no prize for second place. None. We must win, we must have a message, and we must have an agenda to win at the ballot box. Otherwise, your freedom and your liberty will be constricted at every single turn. So here's the blueprint to win in a blue state. Whose home value fell last year? Raise your hand. Whose property tax bill continued to escalate last year? Do you think that's fair?
No.
Freeze property taxes for the next 3 years. After the freeze, eliminate all loopholes and put hard caps on property taxes to inflation plus population growth. That's it. We polled it, and 72% of this blue state would vote for a candidate running on that. The anger is so deep that 62% of the people say that circumstance, when your home value falls and your bill goes up, that should be illegal. Here's the second thing. Who supports an adversarial forensic audit of state and local spending to root out the corrupt practices? Excellent. Well, look, 87% of the people in this state would vote for a candidate, and they say, go get them. It's how we caught Al Capone. 94% of the people say when government spends a tax dollar, that some form of waste, fraud, corruption, or abuse is involved. It's a winning issue. But for us, spearheading this, nobody is willing to run on it. Nobody is willing to run on a property tax freeze, and I'll tell you why. Because you have to have the valor and the courage of your convictions to take on the most powerful special interest groups in this state that are on the gravy train. You and I, we have that valor, we have that courage. Here's the third thing. Here's the third thing. We must repeal the 67% income tax hike, enforcing everybody tax rate is higher than Russia. We still have $9 billion of unpaid bills, yet revenues are at a 190-year high in Springfield. You're not hearing that in the media. We have record revenues. We need to cut spending. State Senator Kyle McCarter, who, for the good of Illinois, Pat, is back in the last 2 election cycles. McCarter wrote the budget 2 years ago, giving a menu of choices on $6.5 billion worth of spending cuts, and we need to cut $5 billion from that 6.5. We can cut that spending. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem, and we have the courage of our convictions and the principles to be able to go in there and root out the misspending and the corrupt practices. And that's why transparency is also important. Those 3 things. 62% of registered voters in Illinois would vote for a candidate running on this. And what it shows you is Illinois has moved beyond party label. This is not about the D's and the R's. It's not about the Tea Party and the Libertarians and the Constitutionalists and the Progressives and the Greens. This is about right and wrong. That is a message that cuts across party lines. Here is the cross-section of Illinois voters. This is what our poll determined was the cross-section of voters. Democrats 40, Independents 28, Republicans 27. We need a new generation of leadership in this state. We need a new Republican Party. It has to be a real party running on robust policy solutions. I can tell you that every morning I get in the shower and I thank God for putting me here in America at this moment in time. It's a unique moment after 227 years. Despite all that's come down the pipe recently, we have been given the greatest gift in the last 5,000 years of human history. And it's a constitution that limits government and empowers we the people. I am privileged to fight alongside of you. We have a lot of work to do. There's no smart work, only hard work. And you and I, we can do that work. Thank you for having me here today.